Welcome in, everybody, on the YouTube channel to the Allen Hour. We got ourselves another Yankees series breakdown episode. Andrew and I back here with another one for you. We appreciate you guys tuning in and keeping, or I should say, sticking with us throughout the entire season. If you have been up to this point, we do appreciate the support. And listen, remind you just to subscribe and like the stream, like the videos. It always helps down the line as well. But Andrew, we have a series where it was a bit of an interesting one in the sense of the offense had its moments, but not a whole lot to be desired about or desired from, I should say. And the pitching was really, really great, but ultimately not. I mean, the offense kind of let us down in a series where the offense for the Rangers was not all that impressive through the three games. You would expect a series sweep. And I know we kind of talked about that off stream before we went live. This kind of felt like it should have been a sweep for the Yankees. We won't complain about 2 of 3, but it kind of felt like we should have got all 3.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Welcome in April 29th, the last episode of April, right? Unless I'm confusing my days.
Yeah. No.
So this is
You're
when I
100%
start
right.
taking things seriously. I have a strict no trade and fantasy rule until May. Like May is kind of when I start taking numbers seriously, start taking my observations a little more seriously. And yeah, we talked about off screen a little bit. I mean, anytime your defense is giving up 7 runs in a series, I mean, you should be winning. You should be sweeping that series, especially with an offense like this. We'll take the 2 out of 3, but yeah, none of the games blew me away offensively, which I wouldn't say it's concerning. It's just not what I wanted to see.
Yeah, no, and you didn't get a whole lot of contribution from some of the lesser names. This is not like the Houston series where it seemed like everyone was contributing. The bottom of the lineup was kind of getting hot. Caballero had his moments in this series, and we'll talk about again his aggressiveness on the base paths because that's a topic of discussion. It carried over from the Astros series into this one a little bit. But besides that, Jazz had a home run in that first game. It was really just the Judge and Ben Rice show from an offensive standpoint, which is not surprising because of how well they've played. But at the same time, the Yankees, we have this conversation. The bottom of the order needs to be more consistent. They can't be kind of flies on the wall and, just picking spots to where they come alive. They need to be more consistent. And I understand in this series, in part why I thought the Yankees would win 1 or 2 games in this series was because of the Texas pitching. I did think that the matchups were not in the favor of the Yankees, just how their lineup is built. I just had a feeling against Evaldi, DeGrom, they would struggle. And they did today. No runs scored in that game. And in the DeGrom game, they were able to get to the bullpen once DeGrom was taken out of the game. But when DeGrom was in there, the offense struggled. So, in my opinion, the Yankees were kind of not lucky, but from an offensive standpoint, to walk away with 2. Realistically, any other team with a more competent offensive lineup than what the Rangers put out in this series, they probably win 2 of 3 in this.
Yeah, you can look at it both ways, right? The
Right.
offense scores 7 runs, you're probably like, "Oh crap, we lost the series." But then you say the defense or the pitching allows 7 runs, and you're like, "Oh crap, we probably swept the series." So kind of found a middle ground there, which I guess is nice. When the offense is off, you would like it when the pitching is on, and vice versa. When the pitching's eventually off for a series or 2, you'd like that to be the time when the offense is on. I do think Jazz. I mean, he had a home run in Game 1, as you mentioned. I think he had a better series than the numbers really showed. I feel like he hit the ball hard in almost every single game. And you mentioned the Yankees struggled against DeGrom, which they did. And it felt like in the first inning, they were really going to get something going. Bellinger missed a 2-run home run by about an inch, hit
Right.
just 2 centimeters below that yellow line in right field. Jazz gets robbed of an extra base hit from Evan Carter, who's as fast as lightning, absolutely cranked the ball into the deepest part of the ballpark in right center field. So it felt like, hey, maybe they're going to start rolling against DeGrom, which I have a buddy who's a huge Mets fan that asked for my MLB TV login because he wanted to watch DeGrom pitch. And I was excited because it looked like they were just going to absolutely, start shelling him early on. But obviously that didn't happen. Still walked away with a win, which I thought that was going to be the game that they lost. Dylan thought that they were going to lose that game and the next game, but he was definitely right about Evaldi. But yeah, just not enough offense in the series. I'm sure that'll turn it around a little bit. But yeah, and a lot of mix up with the team, a lot of news to, I guess, break, right? Randall Grichuk has been DFA'd. He's no longer with the team. We saw Stanton placed on the IL, which halted Jason Dominguez up, which he was hit by a pitch and he might be hurt. I'm sure we'll
Right.
get into Elmer Rodriguez a start. But there's a lot of mixing up on the Yankees roster right now.
Yeah, there a lot of injury news and just the DFA at Grichuk, like you mentioned. The thing with this DeGrom start, and we'll get to this game today since it's a bit more pressing. It just went final about an hour ago. The thing was with the DeGrom start, right? Judge has a single to start in that first inning, not to start for the game, but in his first at bat, he hits a single up the middle. Then Bellinger has the double that scores him with 2 outs, right? Almost a near home run. But those 2 hits were in the first inning. That means DeGrom, for the rest of his outing, gave up just 1 hit. The offense went asleep. There was no production. And you talk about Evan Carter robbing Jazz of a potential hit, right? Extra base hit at that. But regardless, even if you count that into that, that would be, 2 hits for the next 5 innings. And when you have a guy like DeGrom, who I knew was not going to walk guys, I thought maybe he'd walk 1 or 2. I didn't think he'd walk literally 0. But for a guy like that, has his control, has the stuff to put together a game like this. And listen, I'm not sitting here trying to say it's easy to hit off of DeGrom. I'm just giving you an idea. Outside of that first inning, DeGrom really settled in, and the Yankees could not figure him out. So luckily for the Yankees, they were able to work his pitch count despite not too many strikeouts and no walks, which is kind of surprising. I guess they might have been fouling off a lot of pitches. I don't really know how else you explain that, Andrew, that the pitch count being high with 6 innings is decently far into a game, but with no walks, 5 strikeouts, we've seen Schlittler and Fried go 7, 8, innings and potentially be up for a 9th even in some cases. So it was, I guess, good on the Yankees to get him out of that game early enough where they could start attacking that bullpen, chipping away. And what ultimately was the Judge home run at first, we all thought, oh, it's great. 3-0 game, 12th home run. He's now tied for the MLB lead. And it turned out that was a huge home run, right? Bednar has trouble in the 9th inning, and that home run was the difference.
Yeah, I mean, you never really know when it happens, right? And the whole Judges and clutch conversation. I mean, obviously, it wasn't a 2-2 game and he hit the home run to make it 3-2, right? But it is obviously a very clutch home run in the top of the 9th, especially because Bednar has been shaky. His whip at like a 1.66 we talked about before the show, which is not good. That's not what you want from your closer. That means that he's getting almost 2 guys on base every single time, every single inning he throws. So that's not where it needs to be. Bednar kind of just been struggling the whole year, really. Obviously gets the double play at the end of the game to seal the save, which I don't think he's blown a save yet. And I don't like to say that like eventually he's going to,
blown
but
one.
Certainly, okay, he's blown one save. Okay. I mean, it just seems like we're kind of trending in the direction for him to blow another. It's just like his starts have not, or his outings have not been great. His command has been like decent. He's still throwing strikes, but he's just getting hit hard, to be honest, a little bit. A lot of line drives in that. And I know, again, Jazz made some bad plays. Ryan McMahon didn't help him out in either outing. So, a couple things there too defensively, but it's not like he's striking at every guy and then those plays happen. Guys are getting legit hits off him too. So not too concerned because he hasn't like completely blown it yet. You mentioned the one blown save, but I think he leads the majors with 9. So he's gotten a lot of opportunities to save games, has only blown 1. But yeah, you could kind of tell it's maybe trending in the direction for more.
I like the segue because I wanted to bring this up and I wasn't sure if it was going to be after all the games recapped or it was going to be at some point in the middle. I think this is a good point to bring it up because, right, there were 2 spots in this series in games 1 and 2 where he ran into trouble, and to his credit, he got out of it, earned both saves. Those 9 saves, second in the majors, right? He just has the 1 blown save in 13 games that he's appeared in. The thing that stuck out to me, Andrew, when I was looking at some of his numbers this year compared to last year, and now remember, if you don't remember, the Yankees traded for him at the deadline. So half of his season was with the Yankees, the other half with the Pirates. So in the 22 games he pitched with the Yankees last year, the 22 outings, he gave up 14 hits, 9 walks. In this year, with 13 appearances, 16 hits, 5 walks. So he's already giving up 2 more hits in 9 less appearances this year, and the walks will get there. He'll surpass 9 at some point this season. And again, that was just with half a season sample size last year with the Yankees. So we're not even at the All-Star break just yet. We're about a quarter of the way through the season or so. So it is concerning in the sense that when he was first brought here, Andrew, it seemed like the hits and the walks were kind of upwards from where you might want them to be. And now this year, they're really higher than where you want them to be. And it's kind of building off of last year, 3.55 ERA and the 1.66 WHIP, which stands out a lot.
Yeah, it feels like this is just like a trend with closers. I mean, I'm looking at his career numbers. His only like really bad year outside of his first couple, games when he was used to be a Padre even before he was a Pirate. His only bad year was 24, and then obviously he had the really really good bounce back year in 25, which led to us trading for him. But other than that, he's been sitting in the twos basically his whole career. So this is a little surprising, but again, it's just there's a trend with closers where sometimes they just don't have great seasons. And I'm not saying David Bednar can't obviously bounce back and still have a great season. But it's not just like he's been struggling in the regular season too. We kind of saw in the WBC. He was letting a bunch of guys on base too. And now I understand you're facing like the best of the best in the WBC, well, at least for some teams, but you could kind of see in the WBC he was struggling with this a little bit, and now it's carried over into the season. So it's just something to keep an eye on. I don't anticipate it becoming a problem, and I don't want it to become a problem because, and this is obviously maybe a too early to have a conversation like this, but if he were to, let's say, continue and maybe have a 4 ERA with around a similar WHIP, I don't know right now who I would trust in that role over him. I can't really pick a guy that I would say, okay, well,
Definitely not Doval.
Yeah, right. Doval has experience in that role, but he hasn't been, that guy in a couple of years now. Maybe you go to Fernando Cruz with his unreal strikeout rate. So I'm just hopeful we don't have to make that decision because I don't trust a ton of guys in the bullpen. Now, I will say that landscape is going to change over the next month or so when we get Rodon back and when we get Garrett Cole back. I'm sure you'll see maybe Luis Hill in a bullpen spot at some point. Ryan Weathers will be really good for the bullpen, I think, if he gets transitioned there. So I think there's going to be a lot of mix up there, and it's something that the Yankees love to add at the deadline as well. But yeah, I just not many guys I trust outside of Bednar right now, so I'm hopeful he kind of bounces back.
I would say Tim Hill is probably your most trustworthy reliever, but again, I don't know if he would fit in a closer role, and it would be for a similar reason to Fernando Cruz, because if the one pitch, or I should say, Tim Hill, I mean, he just throws sinkers, right? That's kind of what it's just all he really does. He gets ground balls. The problem with Cruz that has been shown in the past few games is if he falls behind in counts and can't get into those strikeout counts and he can't throw the splitter, like he's not going to throw a splitter in a 2-0 count because he's not throwing those for strikes typically, right? He's trying to get it below the zone. So if he's falling behind in counts, all of a sudden his best pitch is not on the table. And now he becomes a little bit easier to read and predict what he might throw. He may throw you something over the middle to try and get back in the count, or he might punt on it at bat if it's 3-1, 3-0, depending on the situation. My point is he might be too one-dimensional for a closer role because given that if he throws 2 balls, the control is not there, all of a sudden there's a major swing in an advantage to the opposition. With Bednar, at least he has a couple different areas he can go with pitch-wise, and he kind of fits that closer role more than Cruz would. Now, if Cruz is control, like if you, no pun intended, if you promised me that his control would never waver, it would always be like on his A game, then yeah, I would say 100% he could really thrive in that role. But again, when you handicap yourself with essentially a strikeout pitch, and that being the lone strikeout pitch, that's like your bread and butter. If it's not, you can't get yourself in those counts, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's like you're pitching with one arm behind your back. You're doing it not full strength. So I think Bednar needs to figure it out because otherwise I think they go the route of either entrusting someone like Tim Hill, who might have to figure out on the fly how to become a closer all of a sudden. Maybe they put Weathers like a starter in that spot, or maybe they trade for somebody. But who knows? I feel like they have an abundance of pitchers, Andrew. So if you trade for a guy, now you have to have the discussion, who do you move off the roster to make room for an acquisition like that, right? Do you send Heel back down to AAA or AA if he's one of those guys? But like, let's say Heel's not even on the lineup, on the roster, right, at that point. Now, do you send Weathers what do you do to maneuver this? And I know that can be a conversation for a later date, but it's something to think about. If you're going to go out and acquire a pitcher, you're going to have to make room for him. And then who kind of gets the axe to fit for that pitcher?
I mean, I think there's a couple guys that they've kind of shown that axe to already. I think Jake Bird would be off the team if like Shavihi didn't get hurt. Obviously, he's on the IL. So I think there's a couple movable pieces. I was just trying to go in depth a little bit into David Bednar's baseball savant. Luckily, the numbers say that he should be pitching a lot better than he is, which is nice. has an insanely high ground ball percentage, hasn't had one barreled ball against him all year, which, to be honest, just off eye test, I feel like he's had some hard hit balls, but it's the lowest average exit velocity that he's had in his career. So there's some numbers there that you can kind of be like, okay, like he's given up his most hits per nine this season, but if it's a lot of ground balls and a lot of non-hard hit balls, like I would imagine that whip and that eventual hit per nine comes down as well. His expected ERAs at a 2.81, so obviously playing better than his 3.55. I don't know what his opponent average is right
Is there an
now.
expected whip? Or is that not really? I guess it's not really a thing, right?
No, the thing you could look at is like walk percentage and expected batting average. But
Okay.
his expected batting average is low, like 230. I mean, it's the highest of his career, but he's kind of been in that 220, 210 spot his whole career. So I would expect some bounce back. His expected slug is really, really low, lowest of his career. So maybe some bounce back is expected. I'm kind of glad I came across those numbers a little bit, because not that I was getting super concerned, but it's relieving to know that maybe some of those numbers are overplayed a little bit.
And the thing too, to his credit, in this series specifically, that the McMahon error, right? Jazz kind of goofs on a play. Then he had a goof play where he fortunately were able to review it and reverse the call, but was almost a ground ball that was not fielded properly. So Bednar was put in the spots where he really should not have been. And the one that really stuck out to me was the McMahon missed throw to first that let McCutchen get on first, that then led to the triple that scored McCutchen. And it was one out, no one on, ground ball to McMahon, who's specifically in the game to make defensive plays. And to his credit, he has done it all year. That was one of the first goofs I've seen him make all season. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say he can't make an error or two in, 100 plus games of a season, but just in terms of crunch time, you get that out at first. Now it's 2 outs, nobody on in a 3-0 game. Instead, it kind of then just unraveled a little bit from there. And to Bednar's credit, he worked around it. He got the save. So I will give him his flowers, even though we kind of talked about potentially replacing him at some point if it were to go downhill. It is nice to know that some of the expected numbers and some of the advanced numbers are kind of in his favor, because again, it doesn't really feel like he's giving up a ton of extra base hits. It's been kind of just hard hit singles, if anything, hard hit ground balls. He got the double play to get out of the game in one of these games to get a save. So he is getting a ton of ground balls. He is doing his job. He's second in the league in saves. We can't complain too much, but it is just something to talk about, something to keep your eyes out, to watch out for, because
I
it could
will
potentially
say,
unravel.
looking at these numbers a little deeper, I am growing a bit more concerned just based off like the K rate. Last year, his strikeout rate was at 34%. This year, it's at 23%. That's a big drop off. An
Right.
11% drop off is big. You're talking about like top of the league strikeout percentage to kind of middle of the league. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's very interesting, because this year he's low strikeout, high ground ball rate. Last year, he was high strikeout, kind of medium ground ball rate. And I like when he's the strikeout guy and not the ground ball guy, because we've seen now, I think this defense is better than the Clay Holmes days, but we've seen Clay Holmes as that pitcher who doesn't strike out a ton of guys, but gets you a lot of ground balls. When he was the closer for the Yankees, he was a ground ball machine. And yet, the Yankees still somehow seem to blow a lot of games and stuff like that, because it just didn't feel like for a while they were a great team when balls were hit and play. Now, obviously, you have guys like Jazz Chisholm there and Ryan McMahon and Jose Caballero, and hopefully when Volpe comes back, he's playing at a high level defensively. So it's not concerning, but we saw it, right? You just mentioned it. When there were balls in play, the Yankees were struggling with it. So they kind of moved away from that last year in getting Bednar to be the strikeout first, not as many ball in play. And now he's kind of turning into the ball in play, strikeout less. So I would definitely keep an eye on that, because I don't know where that stands in terms of other players, but an 11% drop off in strikeout percentage has to be one of the highest in the league.
Which then brings us back to the whole thing we talked about with Tim Hill, potentially filling in that spot if it were to come down to it, because we don't trust Duvall, right? And this is assuming they don't go out and acquire a big name closer that's already an established closer in the league. He's a ground ball guy. And yeah, he does get strikeouts from time to time, but he's in there to get the ground ball outs, So to your point, he would not alleviate if that became an issue where this strikeout rate percentage continued, right? And he was middle of the pack, Bednar, that is, for the remainder of the year, or at least for the majority of the season. And that's a stat where in June, it's still around the same number. And you're going, okay, this is Bednar 2026. Where do we go from here? Tim Hill would not fix that issue. So then maybe that pushes them to go trade for a guy at the deadline or somewhere around there if they're looking for someone to kind of alleviate the defense a bit. But at the same time, if I'm Boone, half these moves you've made in the offseason, right? The guys you acquire for depth, for defensive positioning, right? That you can make the argument that a lot of these guys that you brought in to replace that World Series roster, because of those World Series goofs in the field, were to improve this area of your game. So at some point, do you just have to trust your guys to make the plays if Bednar's K rate doesn't get up to where it was last year, and hope that some of these newer guys make the plays in the field for the reasons they were acquired and why they're starting in these positions in the ninth?
Yeah, I'm trying to look at his velo numbers in comparison to last year, and I haven't located it yet. But I imagine it might be a velo issue. I mean, maybe his stuff is just down a little bit in terms of miles per hour because it seems like he's just sacrificing swing and miss for bad contact a little bit. And yeah, you mentioned Tim Hill. I mean, he is literally in the 100th percentile in ground ball percentage. 80% of the times guys are hitting ground balls. He's in the first percentile in strikeout percentage. So he is literally just ground balls. He's not going to strike you out. He's not going to walk you either, which is nice. But it's interesting to see. I mean, he has a 1.4 ERA, right? And that's the same defense that's going to be playing behind him if he were to close a game. So who knows? Who knows where that all shakes out? But yeah, I'd keep an eye on the Bednar strikeout percentage because I didn't really stumble upon that until just now when we started, and that's a bit concerning.
Oh, hello. I think we just lagged a little bit. Our first lag of the Allen Hour. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you through the wall, and I didn't hear you through my ears, and I didn't know what was going on.
And I didn't see you either, kind of buffered. All right, well, listen, first for everything, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so the thing with Bednar, to kind of just wrap it up, because again, we're still in the early goings. We're not even in May yet, but it's just something to keep an eye out for, because if you're watching these games like we are, you're noticing Bednar, you're probably saying to yourself, like, why is he giving up so many hits? I didn't feel like he was doing this last year. Why all of a sudden this year? So we're trying to answer some of these questions, give you some insight, some advanced numbers that you might not know about into what's been going on. We'll figure it out over the course of the next couple months or so if this continues, if it's the velo, if it's his velocity, if there's a drop off, because right now there is a major drop off in his K rate. So that would insinuate he's just not throwing that fastball as fast as he used to, where he's getting guys to swing and miss and they're putting more balls in play. Obviously, right? He's given up more hits than he did last year with the Yankees. And again, that's just in 22 games last year, 14 hits. This year, 16 hits in 13 appearances. So obviously hitters are picking up his pitches easier. Maybe he's leaving him in the zone more than he was last year. Maybe the control is not as perfect as it needs to be in terms of locating pitches just outside the zone. He's leaving it a little bit too over the plate. But again, only one blown save. He has the second most saves in the league. So he is doing things right. We're just noticing differences from last year. So let's get into a little bit more just a little bit in depth about these games, Andrew. Today's game was kind of a wash, right? I had a feeling that Nathan Eovaldi, I didn't think he'd do this well. I'll say that. But I did think that the Yankees would struggle with him, in part because it was kind of a feel. And I don't like being that fan. And sometimes you can't avoid it, but sometimes you just want to be negative so that when they do the opposite, it pays off. You're like, like they're going to stink about with this guy. And then they go and win. You're like, oh my God, this team's great. Sometimes you just get that feel with Eovaldi. I feel he's had pretty good starts in his career with the Yankees. He's been a really good pitcher in the later parts of his career. If you remember with the Yankees, when he only played 2 seasons after that, seemingly with Boston, Texas, he's played a lot better throughout his career. This year was a bit of a shaky start for him. He's had a decision, I think, in every start this year for him. He's now 3-4. So it seems like he's either pitching really bad and immediately putting himself in a loss position, or he pitches really well and puts himself in a win position.
Yeah, I mean, I guess all we had to look at really was what Nathan Eovaldi has been throwing the most this year, and it's been the split finger. And that's a pitch that has killed the Yankees the last 2 years. They seemingly can't figure out the split finger. And when you are a right-handed pitcher and you can throw a split finger like that, it's almost going to negate, that righty-lefty matchup because it's such a good pitch against lefties. And obviously the Yankees rolled out their lefty lineup, right? They had Jason Dominguez in there initially. JC Escara was in there. All the lefties that you'd expect when there's a right-handed pitcher on the mound was out there. And Yeah, I mean, that splitter, it's just I almost got like Trey Savage flashbacks and Kevin Gausman flashbacks last year. I mean, it was literally death by splitter in that series, and it was death by splitter today. So I guess that's really the only thing we had to look at because he threw, let's see, he threw 31 splitters to left-handed hitters. 41% of the time splitter was coming out of his hand against lefties. So it's a big number. Yankees struggle against it for sure.
So just an update because you mentioned Jason Dominguez. An update on his injury report. So it's a left elbow contusion. This is per Bryant Hoke on X. He said that the X-rays were inconclusive, so he's going to undergo a CT scan tomorrow in New York. So they're going to fly back. Obviously, they have the series against Baltimore coming up, a 4-game set. A bit of an interesting scheduling series. It's a Friday through Monday 4-game series. So it is a bit interesting, but so we won't really have an answer on Dominguez until tomorrow when he gets that CT scan done. I'm not in the medical field. Obviously, we're talking Yankees here, right? So I don't know what it means when a scan or is inconclusive or the X-rays are inconclusive, other than they can't tell and they got to do further testing. But I don't know if that maybe favors a worse decision or a better decision. I don't know which way to lean. I don't really know how to read into that. But just know that the Yankees doctors seemingly don't know exactly how severe the injury, this contusion, is at the moment. So we'll figure that out tomorrow. But just wanted to provide an update there.
Yeah, that's gonna stink. I mean, if he's out, he finally got his chance a little bit this year. Obviously, we don't expect Stanton to be out too long. But yeah, got his chance, and you just hate like the hit by pitch injuries are literally the
Mhm.
worst because those feel like those could be the most avoided. Pitchers just having control, and I mean, this is a whole nother conversation with the sticky stuff, but not as many guys were getting hit back in the sticky stuff days. I'm glad that's out of baseball, but yeah, that kind of stinks. I'm curious to see if he lands on the IL, who they bring back up. I mean, is there a chance Spencer Jones in this little time frame makes an appearance up here? You don't have Randall Grichuk anymore, right? So that was kind of the other outfielder. So you're going to need somebody who could play outfield. Maybe they just lean on Max Schumann, who can kind of play everywhere and was also brought up during the series. I don't know. I'd be interested to see. Spencer Jones hits the ball extremely hard, whiffs a ton, but yeah, it would definitely be interesting to see. I do have him on my fantasy team. I picked him up yesterday, actually, when I saw Trent Grisham get hurt. Obviously, he's okay. He started in this game, but yeah, now Jason Dominguez is out. I'm curious to see what that does for them.
Well, Schumann is someone that they traded for in the offseason. So not to say that they would favor that over Jones, but it is interesting that they brought him up, right? He's kind of a utility guy. They traded for him, so they sought him out. And I mean, we could have this conversation for forever, but all the signs are pointing towards the Yankees are not confident in Spencer Jones. Otherwise, I firmly believe he would be up by now because I don't think they would have offered Grisham that qualifying offer this offseason. You want to play the MLB draft, like the pick game, you want to chalk it up to that, fine. But I wholeheartedly believe if they thought Spencer Jones was MLB ready, wasn't going to strike out 200 times, they would not have offered Trent Grisham $22 million, or at the very least would have brought up Jason Dominguez. Neither of them were brought up, right? So they obviously have their conflicting opinions on the two of them. But I do think that Jones, if they were confident that he was ready, would have been thought about being brought up to play this year. So I just think that this is telling. The fact that we haven't seen him play yet is telling to us that they don't think he's ready.
Maybe. I mean, he's going to strike out 200 times in the minors. He's going to strike out 200 times in the major leagues. I don't think they're really worried about his strikeout numbers per se. He had a high average last year. I mean, the guy hit 270 when he's striking out 200 times, had 35 home runs, I think around 80 RBIs, gets on base a ton. Like, I think they really do value what he has. Not that I don't think they necessarily didn't expect Trent Grisham to accept the deal, but it is a 1-year deal. And if they at all thought Trent Grisham was capable of doing what he did last year, then it would make sense for them to go back to him because that's an 800 OPS guy. And if that's
correct, but
if that's what you think Spencer Jones is going to be, I suppose it's just you're trying to win now. And does Trent Grisham give you a better opportunity to win now than Spencer Jones? I don't know. We haven't seen Spencer Jones, obviously, at the major league level.
I understand the thought process on Grisham, but there's more proof that he would not replicate what he did last year, and you could chalk it up to a one-off. And they'll tell you that they believe he can hit 35 home runs again because that's what they have to tell you. Whether they believe it or not, we'll never know the answer to that. But I do believe that they think that Spencer Jones, a 35 home run guy that probably, if he ever really put it together, could put together 40 plus home run seasons. Like if he was ready to go now, they would probably be like, all right, let's get this guy going. Let's see what he can do. He has yet to be given a shot between all these Stanton injuries. Now with Dominguez, we'll see if they pull the trigger. But in my opinion, if Dominguez has to go on the IL with Grichuk gone, if it's up to the guy they traded for, what's his name?
Max Schumann.
If it's up to Schumann and Spencer Jones and they pick Schumann, I think it's very over him in this case with all these injuries and Grichuk gone. I think it's telling where they think he is in his progress right now.
It's going to be a short-term option. So do you want to take up, do you want to call up Spencer Jones to make his debut for 2 days and then send him back down? I mean, I don't know. Max Schumann does have MLB experience, not great MLB experience, but he did play in the major leagues the last 2 years for the A's. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where they stand on Spencer Jones. I think they still value Spencer Jones because I think there were numerous times they could have traded Spencer Jones, and they haven't. So we'll see where they stand. And I think after next year, right after this year, when Trent Grisham is gone, assuming they don't re-sign him, it is going to be interesting to see what they do. And I think they brought up Jason Dominguez to cover this injury because he's been up here before. They want him to keep getting at bats, and obviously they want him to be a major league player for them. And he's going to be sent down, just like if he's not hurt, he's going to be sent down eventually. So I'm curious to see how they handle the whole situation.
Yeah, Dominguez getting called up made sense, and he was one of the hotter bats in their entire farm system, so it made sense, and it was a shame that he got hurt today. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Speaking of guys that were brought up from the minor leagues to potentially play in 1 or 2 games, then be sent back down, Elmer Rodriguez made his major league debut today for the Yankees. They called him up from Scranton to pitch. Obviously, with Luis Heel being sent down, they bring him up to make a spot start. With Rodon coming back around the corner, Cole not too far behind as well. You would imagine Elmer Rodriguez gets sent back down, or maybe they find a spot for him in the bullpen. But if I had to guess, they send him back down. But let's talk about his debut. 4 innings. He does get the loss. 4 hits, 2 runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. So the control kind of was not there at the end. I believe he had 2 walks in his final inning of those 4. So the control kind of dropped off. But there was an inning or 2, Andrew, where you noticed it and you pointed it out to me, kind of how he was mixing up his pitch selection.
Yeah, I read up about a lot of these guys when they come up, and I was familiar with Elmer Rodriguez going into this year. He was in the Carlos Narvaez trade, which I don't think a ton of people know about. When we sent him to the Red Sox, we got him. He's our second best pitching prospect, 3rd overall, depending on which ranking you really look at. And I think a lot of Yankee fans were kind of, if this happened, they were almost like, oh, Carlos Legrand. That was kind of the name everybody assumed would be coming up. But Elmer Rodriguez is right behind him in the rankings. He's right there. Really, really good pitcher. And yeah, I did notice some things. It didn't seem like he was showing the curveball to the Rangers, at least the first time through the order. And then he really ramped up that pitch second time through. And that's important because this curveball was ranked the best in the organization, the Yankees organization. So that's a pitch that he's going to use a lot if he's up here, going forward. We're going to see that pitch a lot more. As for how they handle him, yeah, I think it's just simply they're going to send him down when Rodon comes back up. I can't imagine they place him in the bullpen. I would assume they want him to keep getting, starter quality innings in the minors. So I think that's what they're going to do. But yeah, I mean, he should make one more start before he goes. So hopefully that's a good one. But yeah, the 4 walks, just looking at some of his starts recently in AAA and even dating back to the WBC, the walks have been an issue so far this year. They haven't been an issue in the rest of his career. Honestly, his minor league walk rate is pretty low considering. But yeah, it was an issue this year. So I kind of expected maybe some of that in the majors. But the guy can locate. It wasn't like he was completely missing. He was missing by barely anything, using the sinker and the 2-seam a lot. So it was a pretty good start considering.
Yeah, and listen, it's tough to be put on the mound in this spot. I mean, the lineup for the Rangers, they're not great, but there's a lot of intimidating names in the lineup, right? Seager, Peterson. So it was not to say that he was overwhelmed per se, but they definitely have a presence in the box. And I'm sure, I mean, I can't speak to it because I've never been on a major league mound before, or a minor league mound for that matter. But going from Scranton, all of a sudden, the Texas Rangers, that's a huge ballpark. And you and I have been there, Andrew. I got to imagine it's pretty intimidating. It's probably a lot to take in when you're up there for the first time, making your debut, and you don't have the home crowd at behind you, kind of helping you go along. You kind of just have to grind it out by yourself up there in a way. So I thought he looked pretty good. Again, just the control dropped off towards the end of the start, which got him pulled. And then they gave up those 2 runs in that 5th inning, gave the Rangers a 2-0 lead. And then again, in part because Eovaldi just was seemingly untouchable today. The offense could not help him out and give him any run support. So again, the poorer of the 3 games for the Yankees in the series. But I want to go to game 1 because we really didn't talk about game 1 a whole lot. We spent a lot of time on DeGrom, the Judge home run in game 2, now Elmer and Eovaldi in game 3. But game 1, Max Fried had a great start yet again. And I feel like these guys, I said it to you before, Andrew, it's almost unfair because when Max Fried or Schlittler or any of these guys really, when they go 6 innings, you kind of, it's hard to not be like, all right, pretty good. Like, that's how good they've been, where if they're not going 7 or 8 innings, it just feels like, oh, yeah, pretty solid. Meanwhile, 6 innings is fantastic at the clip that they're going at, where they're giving up a handful of hits, 1 or really no runs, right? Limiting the walks, like the walk ratio is where you want it to be. It's just fascinating to me that we're kind of in this mindset where a 6-inning start is expected at this point, and we're not really all that impressed.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams out
stand
there,
out.
especially one of the teams we just played in the Astros, that if they got 6 innings, no runs, they'd be jumping up and down. And yeah, you're right. It just seems like another day at the office for us. But yeah, huge start. And it's funny. We mentioned, they really struggled against DeGrom and got to the Rangers bullpen when they were given a chance. In this game, they hit 3 home runs and scored all their runs against Leiter. And then when the bullpen came in the game, weren't able to score any runs. So yeah, I mean, it's just huge from the pitching staff just to get length like that. And obviously Elmer Rodriguez in his first career start didn't give them that 6-inning length. But yeah, it's been insane how little the bullpen has had to be utilized so far this season, given how much length they've received over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And yeah, it should really only get better, right? We keep talking about it over and over again. It's one of the best pitching staffs in the majors right now, with 2 Cy Young caliber pitchers not in the rotation yet. So it's pretty ridiculous. I mean, at the end of this year, you could be looking at a rotation with Garrett Cole, who's won a Cy Young, Carlos Rodon, who got Cy Young votes last year, Max Fried, who got Cy Young votes last year, and Cam Schlittler, who might get Cy Young votes this year. Pretty insane.
And Schlittler having that 1.5 ERA this year and having an outstanding walk to or strikeout to walk ratio. I think it's up to 49 to 5. Like, that's an insane ratio for someone that got called up last year, right? Made his debut. Like, we were just talking about Elmer Rodriguez making his debut today, and we're like, yeah, he looked okay in times, right? This guy is practically making, like, this is his rookie year, essentially. You combine last year and this year, and he seemingly is one of the top arms already in the majors. It is fantastic to see. It really is amazing. We are very lucky as Yankee fans. Sometimes we just hit the jackpot with Ben Rice, right? As soon as Soto leaves, we get Ben Rice. It's almost like they were duplicated in a way, and we immediately filled that void, right? Schlittler comes in when we have 2 of our top guys down. He pitches better than the both of them have ever pitched with the Yankees in their careers. Like, I know Cole won a Cy Young, but he has not pitched to this level ever since coming aboard. This is like Garrett Cole, Houston Astros type dominance in terms of just, you're not going to score anything, and I'm going to strike you out, and I'm not going to walk you. So you better figure out a way to put the bat in the ball and get it through the infield. Otherwise, you're going to be in the dugout every time, after every bat. This is kind of what we're seeing. It's very amazing to see. I hope we're not taking it for granted by season's end, because on paper, yeah, maybe by name value, he's like our 3rd best starter. But for right now, he is the ace of this team. And I know that's Cole's quote unquote position, but he is pitching like an ace. Like, Andrew, be honest, game 1 of a series, I know you probably pitch Cole, but if Schlittler pitches like this the entire season, finishes with like a 2 ERA, a 200 strikeout to 40 walk ratio, it'd be a pretty hard pass not to start him in game 1 of either a wild card or an ALDS.
Yeah, I mean, just pick your poison, right? If he continues at this pace, yeah, it'd be hard not to pick him. But what if Max Fried continues at his pace, right? And Garrett Cole gets back to what we're used to, and Carlos Rodon picks up from where he left off last year. You're talking about 3 Like if you dished out those 4 guys to any of the 30 teams in the major leagues, they'd probably be the 1 or 2 starter on all those teams. And we're talking about all 4 of them being in our rotation. So we're spoiled. We're absolutely spoiled. And we haven't even mentioned Will Warren, who has been
No.
insane this year. Will Warren has been so good. Had 30 starts last year. I mean, obviously wasn't the way he wanted it to go, right? His ERA was in the 4s, but he's bounced back incredibly this year, and he's just been a freaking horse for them too. So yeah, it's nuts. It feels so different. And I know we don't want to talk about maybe World Series aspirations just yet, but it doesn't feel like we've had in the Judge era a rotation quite this good. And obviously, look, jury's still out. Is Garrett Cole going to be back to form coming off Tommy John? How's Carlos Rodon going to look coming off the injury? Those are question marks, right? We're assuming that they're going to do well based on how they've played in the past, but who knows, right? But man, if they play anywhere close to where we're used to, it's got to be the best rotation since I've really started following this team.
Yeah, I mean, doomsday scenario, and again, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but doomsday scenario would be these 2 guys come back. One of them is pitching somewhat to form, and the other one, if I had to bet, would be Rodon. Seemingly just can't figure it out, can't put it together, and now you booted a guy to the bullpen like Warren or Weathers, and they're not good in the bullpen, and then you try and reverse it, and then it just kind of is a whole scramble where they're not good in the new role you gave them or the absorbed role, and now you kind of threw off Warren for how he has been kind of preparing himself for every start. Now it's kind of like, all right, you want to give us 10 pitches today and then the next day, and he's not good. Like you could potentially mess up what we have going for us right now. You do take that risk. Not to say that they shouldn't take this risk, because I do think that there is a high risk. There's a high reward to it, right? If it pays off, obviously. I'm not going to sit here and say Garrett Cole should not be added to the rotation, or Rodon for that matter. But I am just letting you know there is a bit of a risk here, because if Rodon pitches a little bit to what he was like in more recent years, where he had his struggle starts with home runs, keeping the ball in the ballpark early on in games, especially, and then you move a guy like Warren, who's had a lot of success, to the bullpen, and maybe he doesn't figure that out in a bullpen role. Now you kind of have 2 guys that aren't figuring it out, and now you have yourselves a dilemma. And again, that's doomsday scenario, but you do take that chance down the line.
Yeah, there's a transition period for sure. We'll see how it all shakes out. But I mean, it's nice knowing at least and it's the minor leagues, it's rehab starts, but they haven't been getting shelled in rehab starts. They've been like really efficient in their rehab starts so far. So yeah,
Right.
it's gonna be interesting because I'm honestly, I mean, it's hard not to be excited for Garrett Cole because we haven't seen him in so long. But Carlos Rodon was so good last year. I'm almost more excited to see him because I think him, another lefty like that, another dominant lefty in the rotation that kind of we assume is going to take over for Weathers, who it just seems like he's like an upgraded version of Weathers, like if he plays to what he did last year. So, yeah, super excited. Can't even overstate how excited I am.
And we'll talk more about that when those guys come back to the lineup, or the roster that is full time, which should be pretty soon. Now, the one other thing I wanted to touch on, Andrew, before we get to our series MVP picks and previewing the Baltimore series, something we noticed recently, and this is these numbers here that you're seeing are in the last 5 games that the Yankees have done this, where they put Ben Rice second in the lineup, Judge third in the lineup. Now, again, the last 5 games, it's more on a consistent basis. There may have been some games, some spotted games earlier in the season where they tested this out. But for the most part this year, they had Judge batting third and Judge batting second, Rice batting third, fourth, kind of different variations. This is the first time we're seeing it, Andrew, on a consistent basis, where they're putting Rice at second, kind of like Soto, right, in 24, and now Judge at third in the spot. And in the last 5 games, you can see the numbers, both are really thriving. And I wonder if this is going to be more of a permanent change, because I'm sure Boone sees this too. If we're seeing it, I'm sure he's seeing it.
I mean, until we start to see a Rice drop off, and I'm talking like a heavy Rice drop off, I think it has to happen this way. And you're right. It's reminiscent of 2024. We got another lefty, number 22 in the box ahead of Judge, and it's Ben Rice this time. And he's been so good to the point where, I mean, pitchers are going into this dilemma like, okay, I have to pitch to Rice because if I walk Rice, I'm going to face Judge. And you have to pitch to Rice. Rice is getting hits. And then now you have to pitch to Judge because Rice is getting hit. Like, they're not walking a ton, but it's because they're getting pitches to hit. It's not like their on-base percentage has been trailing. I mean, you look at this, they're getting on base, not with the walk. I think Dylan mentioned to me before, Judge hasn't walked in 4 straight games. When's the last time that's happened in his career? I'd be willing to bet you that if there was a time, it was probably in 2024 when the structure looked similar to this, where he had to get pitches to hit because he had such an elite hitter in front of him. Let's hope Ben Rice continues. I don't see a reason for a drop off. I don't think he's going to stay at a 1.2 OPS the whole season, but even if he's floating from 900 to 1 the whole season, that's still going to have the same exact Soto effect that we saw in 2024. And that's now with Bellinger in the lineup and all these other guys that weren't there in 2024. So, yeah, I'm super duper excited about it. I think it is going to be permanent. We've seen it the last 5 games now. I think Rice has reached that point where, hey, like they're not going to look for Goldschmidt anymore. And I think we saw that as evidence when Jason Dominguez played all 3 games this series. I know it was a right-handed pitcher, and obviously they favor that having a lefty in there. But even I still mentioned in our last preview episode previewing the series that I thought Goldschmidt might still get some at-bats because he's a veteran and he's a guy that I know they trust a lot. So seeing that they played Dominguez all 3 games ahead of Goldschmidt when they had an opportunity to put Goldschmidt in a DH means that just Rice is there to stay. It's not even a thought in their mind anymore. I don't think it's going to give Rice the day off for numerous days a week. So, yeah, Rice has been hitting at an unreal clip, and now Judge, because of it, has also been starting to pick up the average.
Good. I mean, listen, not to say that I'm saying Boone should be fired or anything like that, but he is in the last year of his contract, right? And for a number of years, fans have wanted him gone. This would be a hell of a time to choose to mismanage production from Ben Rice. You know, you're keeping him out of the lineup too many times a week. For Paul Goldschmidt, an aging veteran who, listen, I know he wants to win a World Series just like the rest of them, but he has no future ties with the Yankees like Ben Rice would have. There's no future implications or production that you would have to worry about. So this would be a hell of a time for Boone to choose, like, yeah, you know what? Let's mix in Goldie here. So good on Boone for realizing that and being like, all right, listen, not to say that it takes a genius to figure that out because we've been saying it for a while now, but good on him to follow through because I'm sure it's harder to have those conversations with a veteran like Goldschmidt who's put together a heck of a resume, right, as a baseball guy, and to tell him, like, listen, I know we brought you here. I know we probably promised you somewhat of a platoon, but we did not expect Ben Rice to be playing this well. Unfortunately, there's just not a spot for you to play right now. We won't DFA you. We'll keep you up here in case we need you. But for the time being, it's Ben Rice's spot. And that's it. So I'm sure those conversations are kind of difficult to have with a guy like that. So I give Boone credit for following through, assuming he had a conversation like that. So let's get to the series MVP of this series. Again, the Yankees win 2 out of 3. Low scoring series for the offense in general. Obviously, they don't score any runs today. But I did go with an offensive player. I feel like it was it's pretty self-explanatory. Right, I went with Aaron Judge, 454 average on the series, 2 homers. Yeah, exactly. You see the picture right there. And I think I bought you that for Christmas years ago.
You did.
I was gonna say I remember buying that. All right, or Santa ball. 2 home runs, 2 doubles, and 2 runs batted in out of the 7 runs in total for the series for the Yankees. So, listen, Judge 3 for 3 in that first game, had the solo shot right after Ben Rice went yard for a 2-run bomb. Today, I think he went 0 for, but again, today it felt like everyone was going 0 for except for Ben Rice. He did have 3 hits to his credit. He had 3 of the 5, which I found kind of astonishing. So the rest of the lineup did essentially nothing. And then yesterday, the big 9th inning home run, which at the time, I mean, a 2-run game, making it a 3-run game is important, right? Giving your guy insurance runs. And it surely was yesterday because Bednar, we talked about it at length, having trouble this year, not giving up hits. Whether it was his fault or not, McMahon makes an error, and all of a sudden, you know, there's a guy on base, or yesterday was the Jazz night. Jazz makes a fluky play, and then a single here, and then all of a sudden, it's a 1-run game. Bednar's credit, he gets out of it, but that home run was huge. So Aaron Judge, my MVP for the series, and unfortunately, I picked Trent Grisham. I thought Texas Trent was going to emerge in this series. He did not. He was on base for Ben Rice's 2-run home run in that first game, but other than that, seemingly didn't do a whole lot more, at least in my recollection. So I'm now 2-7. But Andrew, since you picked Judge, I give you the win, 4-5, and I got to give you a lot of credit, man. You've been sharp, albeit I know you picked Aaron Judge. People go, oh, you could pick him every week, and you probably win most of the time. But to your credit, you know, they still have to go out there and perform and make you right. So in what was, by the way, all right-handed pitching, DeGrom, Evaldi, like some good pitching, and he still hit 450. Keep that in mind. We're watching
Yeah,
greatness. We're witnessing greatness.
still hit 450, and you mentioned he went 0 for in the third game. I mean, so that tells you how great he did for them in the first 2 games. Yeah, Judge had a really good series. Really happy with that. I mean, you're just assuming I'm not going to pick Trent Grisham as my MVP. You're already taking the loss.
I am, yeah. Because I didn't even have to look at the numbers. I just knew.
Well, breaking news.
I feel
I'm
like
not
Michael
going
K
to
only.
be.
I feel like Michael K said his name when he was obligated, when he either
Yeah,
caught a ball or he said he's up the bat. That was really the only time I heard his name called through this
he
series. So
he did make some great plays in center field, so I will give him
yes,
credit
he
there. But
did.
yeah, that's not who I'm going to be picking as my MVP. I'm going to be going with the game 2 starter, and we talked about him a little bit. Cam Schlittler is going to be my MVP, and I'm going to do that because it's so huge what he is doing right now. And in a series when the Yankees were kind of looking for offense, you could argue Ben Rice could get this award as well. The defense really shows and the pitching really shows. So Cam Schlittler, look at that: 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 walks, 8 strikeouts, no runs. Obviously, the 2 walks, not what we're used to seeing
Right.
from Cam Schlittler. But if that's not what we're used to seeing, then keep it up. I mean, keep going. 2 walks, 1 walk, no walks. I mean, that's going to play all year long. He's been absolutely outstanding. And in a game where it just felt like the stakes were higher because not that you assumed the Yankees wouldn't hit. I'm sure Cam Schlittler goes in as confident as any that his offense is going to put up runs. But Jacob deGrom is on that opposing mound, and he did Jacob deGrom things. And to sit here and say that Cam Schlittler outdueled one of the best pitchers of all time, still playing like one of the best pitchers in the game, had to be pretty cool for him. It wasn't like the Yankees, put up 10 runs and made Cam Schlittler so comfortable on the mound to throw 6 scoreless. It was a 1-0 game the entire time he was on the mound. So that puts a lot of pressure on him, and he still came through, and he's going to get the series MVP because of it.
Listen, I can't hit the DeGrom and MLB the Show, so I completely get it, Yankees.
Yeah.
It is difficult. I sit there and I try and time it. The PCI gets dropped a million feet. It's impossible. So I understand from that standpoint. Sometimes it's just not your night. And shout out Jose Siri. DeGrom just had a really good game. And sometimes that's what it is. And he's one of the best of all time. And he's notorious for not getting any run support with the Mets. And that's exactly what happened in this game. Cam Schlittler just shut the door on the Texas Ranger offense. And the the cool thing I saw circulating online, our cousin Jake actually sent it to us in a group chat, but it showed how Schlittler was tunneling his pitches. And I know you really appreciate that, Andrew, as a former pitcher. But this was singling. I'm sure he does it throughout all his starts, but this was singling out one at bat. I think it was against Osuna of the Rangers. I could be wrong, but it was a left-handed hitter. And the thing with Schlittler that's different from most pitchers is that he really utilizes 3 different fastballs: 4-seam, 2-seam, and a sinking fastball, sinker, right? So high velo, he mixes in 3 of them, and he tunnels it perfectly, where he threw the 4-seam high and in, where it was obviously a ball. And then he followed up with a 2-seam, Andrew, where it was essentially the same trajectory. And the video had it lined up, right? So you kind of see both pitches at the same time. And at the last second, it just tailed back down and into the zone and got him looking for a strikeout. When he's on his game, when he's locating pitches, I don't understand how you guess correctly that that's just going to drop right in at 97, 96, however fast he was throwing it. That's impossible.
Yeah, he's throwing, I think it's at right now. So he's throwing 43% 4-seam, 25% cutter, 20% sinker. So I'm not
That's
great
what
at
it is,
math,
cutter. Okay.
but if you add that up, that's got to be around 80% of his pitches are just fastballs. And in order to be a pitcher like that, which is not really something that we see, you have to tunnel. And I mean, those 3 pitches you could do it with, right? Because think of it. Okay, you're Ozuna in the left-handed batter's box. You got a cutter that's going to come at you. You got a sinker that's going to go away from you, and you have a fastball, 4-seam fastball, that's going to come right at you. So those little blips in movement are going to change completely. I mean, barrels, flares, all sorts of stuff like that. So yeah, to Dylan mention, he put it in the top left of the zone, right up in his hands. A 4-seam fastball went straight up there, and then the next pitch he puts the sinker, which comes back down away from him, tunnels it perfectly. And yeah, it's what you have to do. I'm in love with tunneling. I did not throw a cutter or a sinker, so I couldn't tunnel for crap, but I would have liked to. It's a very nice thing to do, and pitchers are doing it now more than ever. It was an insane tunnel, and by the time that you can recognize that pitcher is going to move a different way, you don't even have time to react. That's right. How late in the zone this pitch was getting before it had any break. So yeah, really nice stuff. And yeah, in order to do that, in order to throw fastballs 80% of the time, you got to be good at tunneling. And damn, he's been so good at it.
That's what I'm saying. And he fools a lot of hitters too. If you're wondering when you watch him pitch why a lot of these guys are swinging at fastballs that are like at their eyes, right? You're like, how are they thinking that's going to be a strike? It's probably because of that sinker where it has that late break downward where they're worried it's going to clip the top of the zone. And so they're swinging underneath the four seam that rises because they think it's going to go down and they got to foul it off. And it doesn't. It just goes somewhat up on an upward trajectory and it's close to their eye level because it never drops. So right when you think he's going to throw that sinker, no, four seamer, you're not touching it, right? And then who's to say the next at bat where same guy or a different batter, right? He throws so the same guy will say, right? Throws the two seam and then he goes just with the four seam. Who's to say he doesn't swing at the four seam thinking it's the sinker? So you could really play around with these batters, righty or lefty. And I guess the beauty of it, Andrew, is that if you can locate, he's not matchup proof where a team would have an advantage with a left-handed batter up at the plate because he's throwing fastball type pitches, three different variations of it. He's not throwing a slider that you're not going to throw to a lefty because you're worried that if you leave it up towards their front ankle, they're just going to cream it to right field, right? There's no real worrying about that. You saw how he pitched to a lefty, and you could say the same for a righty where you throw the four seam, right? And then you throw a cutter that has movement that goes in this way. So the opposite of a sinker. So he's really matchup proof as well.
It is insane. I mean, he's throwing 8% curveball and 2% slider. The guy's like not using off-speed pitches, and he's been one of the most dominant pitchers in the league. And if you look at his advanced numbers, they're showing that he should be one of the most dominant pitchers in the league. It's not like he's overplaying and getting lucky. This guy's playing to the numbers that he's expected to be playing to. He has a 31% strikeout rate paired with a 3% walk rate. That is not good. That is not great. That is elite. That is nobody else is doing that other than the top pitchers in the game. And I'm not even sure right now that those guys that came to your mind when I said that are even doing that right now. So yeah, just unreal. And to think that like he might not even be our best starter in a playoff series is wild. It's absolutely insane.
There's got to be a conversation about that because if he is pitching like this and not even at a 1.5 clip, even at a 2.2 clip, there is a point, there is an argument to be made for him, and it'd be hard to take him out of that spot.
And we don't even have to worry about, well, he's a young pitcher. Who knows if he can perform in the playoffs? We saw his best ever career start in the playoffs. So he has everything going for him, man. He's on the top of the world.
Out of the entire roster of pitchers, he's had the best start in the playoff out of anyone's career. He already has it, and he only did it one time.
Yeah.
So it I think it is a conversation to have. But again, if Cole comes out swinging and throwing a 1.5 ERA in his limited time back, right? And all of a sudden the conversation changes. But assuming that Cole does not get to that elite of a level this year, I think there really is a conversation to be had. Who would be your game one starter? And it is a good problem to have, but it also is a big decision because in this hypothetical, right? You always want to set the tone with game one. You want to win game one. Especially if you're hosting it too. You want to go up 1-0. You want to get the momentum. So you have to pick the right guy. So Boone would have some pressure on him and would have to have another tough conversation, right? With a veteran. Say he does go with Schlittler in a game one. Now he's got to sit down with Cole and be like, listen, I know you're our ace. We handed you the keys to the starting rotation, but Schlittler's going in game one. For a guy that's like the up and coming young buck, that's a difficult conversation to have. So
I mean,
to
right
Boone's
now,
credit, it's inevitable to have a conversation like that.
If you put me in a 5-game series, I can't pitch Schlittler game 3. He has to pitch 2 games in that series. He has
Correct.
So whether that's game 1 or game 2, he has to pitch one of those 2 games. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's hope they're all at the same level right now, and that becomes a decision.
So then, who gets moved out? Andrew Fried? Who gets moved to the game 3? Right, assuming that you're having Cole start game 2 or game 1.
I think it depends on who you're facing. If who you're facing might have a worse lineup when they go against lefties, right? Like, who do they bring in? If Max Fried is on the mound, is that the best version of their lineup? If a lefty is on the mound, is it the worst version when a righty's on the mound? I think all those things matter as well. But yeah, I mean, it seems like he's matchup proof right now. So I don't know. I got to see how Rodon. I mean, Rodon.
Listen.
He's a game 1 or 2 starter too, like in my head. So
it's kind of like a rhetorical question or a question you can't answer because
it is. We'll see.
Everyone is just that good. So
let's hope everybody is at the level we're expecting them to be, and it's actually a decision.
Yeah, let's hope this decision is an
But
actual
these
decision
things
and we're
do
not
have a
just hyping
way
it up.
they do have a way of working themselves out a lot of times.
Yes,
So we'll
they
see.
do. So we shall like today with the injury to Dominguez Stanton, like did we get Spencer Jones? Did that just kind of unravel and work itself out where now we finally get Spencer Jones called up? We'll see. Let's move on to the Orioles preview. Again, I mentioned in the beginning of the live, it's a 4-game set. First game is Friday, so the Yankees finally have an off day after their 9-game road trip to Boston, Houston, and Arlington, Texas. So they finally come back to the Bronx. They play the Orioles, which this is their first home divisional series. Correct, Andrew? They've only played 2, and they were both on the road. Tampa and
Yes,
most recently
that's
Boston.
correct.
They got swept by Tampa. They swept Boston. So they're 3-3 in the division, 4-game set. And the reason I have TBD for the Orioles starters right now, and the reason their record doesn't add up to the Yankees record in terms of total games played is because their game today got postponed against the Astros in Baltimore, and they have one scheduled for tomorrow. I would assume it's going to be a doubleheader played tomorrow in Baltimore, and then they got to travel up to New York to play 4 games. So it's a bit unclear who is going to start for the Orioles in game 1, assuming the bullpen gets a lot of usage tomorrow between the 2 games. Maybe they go in maybe they go an opener in one of these games. My point is it's a little bit difficult to speculate. But we know what's nice with the Yankees this year, Andrew, is it's a very structured rotation. It's
Yeah.
pretty vanilla in terms of, okay, Schlittler here, Fried here. It's a very particular order. So we know who's going to start for the Yankees. It'll be Warren in game 1 on Friday. Weathers will go game 2. Fried and Schlittler will close out the last 2 games of the series. And again, Baltimore at 14 and 15. But I guess the one thing we're looking for, Andrew, in this series is for the offense to kind of get ramped up again, bounce back from that Texas series, kind of where we saw them at the Houston series, get more back to that version of this Yankee offense than what we saw in the previous 3 games or so.
Yeah, I'm looking at the statistics right now. They're like bottom 3 in runs allowed, the Orioles in the American League. So maybe this is a good opportunity for the Yankees offense to jump on them a little bit. And their offense, the Orioles, is like bottom 10 in scoring runs as well. So this might be a nice opportunity to get some good division wins. Do I anticipate the Orioles being the team at the end? Not as much as I do with some other teams in the AL East, but they're certainly talented. It doesn't seem like they've gotten what they're expecting out of Pete Alonso yet, especially his slugging numbers. So that should change. Gunnar Henderson has been really, really good. Does Adley Rutschman finally have a bounce back year? Hasn't been that way so far, but who knows? So they got young talent and they have proven talent. Gunnar Henderson has been absolutely unreal for them. So watch out for that. It's hard to really make too many lineup predictions when you don't know who's starting for the Orioles. You don't know any of those matchups. So it's going to be a fun series. I feel like for a lot of my Yankee viewing career, whatever, enjoyment, I've watched the Yankees beat a lot of Orioles teams. I
Right.
can remember back to those, Gleyber Torres owns the Orioles, where the announcers were just absolutely sick of watching him play. So it's been a team that we've dominated a lot. Now, for most of that, it's been a team that's kind of been bottom of the barrel, and we know recently that's changed. They were a playoff team a couple of years ago. Last year, not where they wanted to be, but added some legit talent. I mentioned Pete Alonso. So yeah, I think the Orioles are going to be a pretty good team. I think this is going to be a fun weekend series. I don't think the weather is supposed to be like too great at Yankee Stadium over the weekend. So yeah,
Let's check it out.
we'll see what happens.
Let's check it out. The weather. Yeah. What's nice is the rain that's we're supposed to be getting today and tomorrow is going to stop Friday. But the bad news is we're supposed to get 75% rain Saturday and Sunday with a high of 57. So potentially could be with 2 games having to be play or with Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, maybe a chance of rain. That could be dicey with delays and postpones and stuff. To give you an idea where the Orioles are, they in the last 2 weeks or so, they lost 3 of 4 at Cleveland. Then they won 2 of 3 against Kansas City, both wins by 2 runs. One of them it took 12 innings, and their one loss was by 1 run. And we know how bad Kansas City is, both sides of the ball, pitching and hitting. Pitching, they've been okay. Hitting, they just can't figure out. So the fact that the Baltimore Orioles were giving up 5, 6, and 6 runs against the Royals leads me to believe that the Orioles pitching has not been great. And then three game set against Boston. They win the first one 10-3. Then there's the 17-1 game where Crochet has his first real dominant start of the year. That's the Alex Cora game where he got fired afterwards. They lost 5-3 the next game. So they lost 2-3 to Boston. They won the first game against Houston 5-3. They play a doubleheader tomorrow, so we'll get an idea of how they look tomorrow. But again, I guess down the stretch, they haven't been playing great opponents, right? You think Kansas City, bottom of the barrel offensively. Boston, we just saw bottom of the barrel offensively. Houston, good offensively, bottom of the barrel pitching wise. So I think this is going to be a tough test for Baltimore coming into a 4-game series where they got to face some of the heavy hitters of this rotation, right? With Fried and Schlittler on the back end. And if you get a good start from Warren and Weathers and you get a win in one of those 2 games, it really seems like 3 of 4 is very much doable, assuming Fried, Schlittler show up the way they've been doing all year. If you get a good outing from Warren and if Weathers can keep the ball in the ballpark, you might get a sweep. It kind of seems like it might go down that way if those last 2 games go the way that you think.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, if you're right about the doubleheader tomorrow, by Saturday and Sunday, we could be deep into that bullpen. I mean,
I am right. There's doubleheader, 12:30, 4:30. So that's confirmed.
There you go. Okay, so by Saturday, Sunday, man, we could be facing some bullpen guys that they're not confident in throwing at all. So I think it's really a good time to take advantage. The Yankees right now we talked about their average as a team. They're 25th in average right now, batting .230. The Orioles pitching allows .260 average. That's their batting average allowed. So let's take advantage of that. They're sitting at right like a 4.3 as a team ERA wise. So I think it's a good opportunity. Not that the pitching needs the slack. The pitching doesn't need the slack, but I think that the offense can pick them up a little bit, and I think the offense should get it going this series. We'll see who plays. I mean, we'll see what that whole Dominguez, Stanton, Schumann, Spencer Jones situation looks like. We'll see who's out there, but for the most part, it's going to be the lineup we're used to, and a lot of the guys that we're seeing starting to really stroke the ball are going to still be in there. So yeah, let's hope it's a nice offensive series. And yeah, I hate to say like 3 out of 4 is expected, but like I kind of be disappointed with anything else. Other than a sweep,
yeah, anything short of that, you'd be disappointed.
Yeah, like if you
like
split
or
you lose, like I'm kind of expecting you take 3 wins. I think their Yankees are that caliber team where 3 out of 4 against the Orioles should be the expectation.
I don't think it's out of the question to expect Fried and Schlittler to show up, get you 2 wins, and then Warren and Weathers piece together decent outings, good enough where your offense should right. And I know you love all of them, but I'm even saying with the offense the Yankees has, the pitching Baltimore is not great. They should the offense should have a takeover game or 2 in the series, and you would think Fried and Schlittler will show up and do their thing. If the offense doesn't show up, it shouldn't matter. So yeah, anything short of 3 games, 3 wins, if it's a split or obviously a loss or a sweep, those would be worse. But yeah, a split would not be great. 3 of 4 would be nice. A sweep would be awesome. Now, I know you're a huge fan. Oh, I'll let you go.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say it depends like how the split happens, I guess, in my head. If the split happens because the pitching is not good for a day, like I'd rather that than like another day or 2 where the offense is really, really slumping. Because at this point, I have way more trust in the pitching than I do in the offense. Not that I don't have trust in the offense. I do. I think they're going to be a really good offense. It's just right now I kind of want to see more offense than pitching. So if they split a series because, okay, their pitching, can't be great forever and they had a couple bad games, like that's one thing. But yeah, if they're getting like shut out or 2-run again, like they were in the Texas series a couple times, that's going to be a little bit more concerning to me. And we don't have like a Luis Hill, Elmer Rodriguez, start in this series. It feels like this is our 4 best guys are going out there. So 3 wins. Go get
and
it.
Maybe to your point, it'll catch up to Bednar a bit with his lower K rate and the increase in hits he's giving up. Maybe that'll catch up to him this series, and that pitching debacle or the lack of great pitching, maybe it comes from him. It catches up to him. Now, I know you're a huge fan of CBS Sports and their projected starters, but I figure it's better than nothing just to at least throw out the possibility of what we might see.
Throw out some names.
Because it'll help for our MVP pick, which we'll get to in a second. It'll definitely help when picking. So they're projecting, I looked, the 4 Yankee starters that I have, they're all the same on CBS Sports. So that's at least accurate. They have Cade Povich going Friday against Will Warren. They have Tyler, I assume that's Tyler Rogers. Is that Tyler? Yeah, Trevor Rogers going Saturday against Weathers. They have Kyle Bradish going Sunday against Max Fried, and then on Monday, Shane Baz. closing it out for them. So
So
assuming
if they were to lose a
that's
game,
accurate.
I'd allow it to Trevor Rogers. If that whole thing is accurate and that's how it plays out, Trevor Rogers is really good.
So, all right, Trevor Rogers, a lefty, he would be and Povich, I believe, as well. Yeah, so Povich, Rogers are both lefties. Bradish, Boz, both righties. So you finally have a series now where you have a couple lefties. It was a long stretch of righties, Andrew, for the
Yeah.
Yankees going up. So do you think now might be the spot where Boone finds a potential spot to get Goldie in one of these games, one of these two starts at least, if that's accurate?
Probably just because Rice would be going on what, like 7 games in a row by Monday. And I keep saying by Saturday, Sunday, because just in my head, that's when series ends, but these actually end on Monday. So when I say that, I mean Sunday, Monday. But yeah, I guess just because that would be like 7 in a row, 8 in a
Right.
row for Ben Rice by the time we get to the end of the series. So you'll probably get a Goldschmidt game in there. But again, if you lose the DH, right? Like you don't have Stanton, just slide Ben Rice into the DH for that day, right? Keep that bat in the lineup while still getting him off his feet. That's the thing they have at their disposal now with no Stan.
Correct. Now, the other thing too with that, because we were talking earlier about the possibility of Spencer Jones being brought up, or if they would go with
Yes.
his name is Schneeman, right? That's what, or what was it?
Max
Schulman.
Schumann.
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 Okay, I gotta remember.
The Schumann.
Schumann. He's a right-handed hitter. Yeah. So I think now, if anything, the likelihood of Jones being called up in this series, it would either be for game 3 and 4 or not at all, because given that there's two lefty starters the first two games, if that's accurate, Boone loves his righty lefty. He might want Schumann in there for the first two games, having that right-handed bat instead of Jones batting from the left side against two lefty starters. What would be his debut? I don't think he'll throw him into the woods, like that to start things off. So I do think if I had to make a prediction that they probably stick with Schumann, put him out in the outfield, and or I guess I don't know, because now I guess you're right. Now they put Goldschmidt at DH, right, and they put Bryce. You have Bellinger. All right, so maybe they don't put Schumann in. He's a bench guy.
Yeah,
I
well,
kind of
we'll
didn't
see.
factor that in.
He could play literally anywhere, right? And we didn't see Ahmed Rosario this whole series, did we? Yeah.
No, we did
Starting to think
not.
about it. I don't know if we did.
I
We saw
don't think
McMahon
so.
all
So
3
we should
games
see
against
him
the
at third
Miami.
now.
They're going to mix things up this series. I mean, the main guys you expect to be in the lineup are going to be in the lineup, but like the whole Schumann, Rosario, McMahon, that's going to change a little bit. That DH spot's going to get a little funky. So look out for that. I don't think they're going to pull up Spencer Jones for 4 games
No,
and then
I don't
probably
think so
just
either.
call it. I don't think that's going to happen, especially now that you mentioned we might get some lefties in there this weekend. So yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. 3 or 4. Go get me 3 or 4.
That's it. 3 or 4. All right, let's get to the MVP. Or actually, you know what? Let's just do a quick overview of the Baltimore and Yankee ABS before we get to our
Nice.
picks. Baltimore, again, this is not including the 2 games that they will be playing tomorrow, the 30th. They're ranked 7th in the league in batting challenge attempts at 34. They ranked tied 28th with 21 pitch attempts challenged. They are hitting at a 47% rate batting wise, tied for 16th percent in the league. Pitching, they are at a 52% clip, tied for 25th in the league, 11 of 21. So the numbers would tell you that if they challenge the pitch, which isn't that often to begin with, they get it right 50% of the time. And batting, they do challenge quite a bit and a little bit less than 50% of the time. And the numbers are kind of similar with the Yankees. They challenge the second most in baseball batting wise, pitching 30 attempts, 18th in the league. 60%, which is a lot higher than that 52% Oriole clip pitching wise. And then the hitting, 43%, 22nd in the league. And we kind of talked about it last time, Andrew, Jazz being a big part of that in recent games as well. They're just kind of lowering that percentage for the team, being
Yeah.
way off with his challenges.
And it's funny, Aaron Boone goes on Talking Yanks every week, and this week John Boy was out because he actually tore his Achilles playing blitzball in the warehouse that they have over there. And he recorded one question that he asked to Boone, and it was pretty funny. He was like, "You'll never say this, and we'll never get this answer out of you, and you'll keep saying that Jazz is allowed to continue challenging, but Jazz is banned from challenging, right?" And he kind of had a laugh at it. So I expect we won't see some Jazz challenges for at least the foreseeable future, a little bit.
I don't think we should either. All right, let's get to the MVP picks for this series, and then we'll say so long to everybody. Wrap this up. All right, so we did kind of preview who CBS Sports at least thinks that the Orioles will be throwing out there. 2 lefties, 2 righties. The first 2 games will be 2 lefties. The last 2 will be righties. and it's a bit tricky, right, Andrew? I think I go first this week picking.
Yeah.
And if not,
Mhm.
you could speak up. It's hard to keep track at times. It's difficult. I thought about going pitching, but when you then look and you see it's a 4-game series, like it would have to really be
I agree.
a big time performance.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely that a pitcher would win this with 4 games to play. So I'm going to go with the offense. I'm going to stick with my guns here and pick someone that's not the conventional pick because I just feel like one, I'm personally just tired of picking the same couple guys because they're like, again, a good problem to have. Ben Rice, Aaron Judge, they're just so damn good at what they do that they could win. You could argue them every single time we come on here for every single series. You could make an argument. They did this really well. They did this really
Yeah.
well. But I'm gonna go and maybe that's why I'm 2-7. But I'm a feel guy. Like maybe I just should
Sure.
go with chalk. I'm going with my boy Ahmed Rosario. I've been on the Ahmed Rosario train since day one. I've said that he should be the full-time third baseman over McMahon. And now, to McMahon's credit, he's played a lot better recently. But I think now with the 2 lefties playing in those first 2 games for Baltimore, he gets a start from not playing for a little while, facing a bunch of righties the last 2 series. I think he gets 2 starts in those first 2 games. And, maybe a pinch hit at bat in the 3rd and the 4th game, assuming McMahon starts at 3rd. I think there's opportunity for Ahmed to have another type of game where he leads off, hits a home run, or has like a 3-run jack that he's done in the past. He's an energizer kind of guy. I like his bat speed. It just seems to get through the zone, whether he's making contact or not. He really whips it through. I like him a lot. So I'm going to go with Ahmed Rosario. It's the second time I'm picking him. The last time, I believe he was in somewhat contention for it. But the issue was that I think probably Judge and Rice both hit like 500, and it was just, you couldn't pick him. But I think he did have a home run and like 4 RBIs in a 3 or 4 game set. And it just was unfortunate that I went up against Goliath.
Well, your non-chalk pick makes me want to follow in your footsteps and also pick a non-chalk pick. So I'm going to go with a guy that I think now that Dominguez is out, we think Dominguez is out. I can't imagine he plays too many games in this series, even if he is deemed good enough to play towards the back half. So I'm going to go with the guy that I think is going to get the majority of reps at DH this series. I think he might play all 4 games in the series. I'm going to take Paul Goldschmidt to be the series MVP. The limited time that we've seen him in so far this season, it seems like he's hitting righties and lefties. So I'm not too concerned that when a righty's on the mound, they're going to take him out. I think he's going to play all 4 games, and he's been doing well in his limited time. And I think a nice 4-game stretch for him could go a long way, and he has a chance to really impact the series. He can still hit. Like, he's not playing because he's washed. He's not playing because one of the best hitters in baseball is hitting in front of him right now in Ben Rice. So yeah, we'll see if that's a correct prediction, but your non-chalk inspired me. I'll go with Paul Goldschmidt.
I appreciate it. And the other thing too is, play devil's advocate here. Say Jason Dominguez gets that CT scan tomorrow and it comes up, it's completely fine. And maybe he gets in, or like he could be cleared to play either that first game or that Saturday game. Does Boone even put him in? Right? He has struggled against left-handed pitching.
If there's a lefty on the mound, there is no way Jason Dominguez is playing.
So whether he's cleared or not, I have a feeling he's not even going to play the first 2 games to begin with as a default. And so then maybe if Goldschmidt gets hot those first 2 games, he might just keep rolling with him and let Dominguez kind of heal. So I kind of like your basis for the pick. Because I don't think by default, whether he's hurt or not, Dominguez is not playing those first 2 games.
I think with the first base and the DH option open, like, it just seems to me like he's at least going to play 3 games. So why not, right? If I got a guy like that for playing 3 games, why not?
So, all right. So there you have it. Paul Goldschmidt for Andrew. I got Ahmed Rosario. I'm 2-7. Unfortunately, not great. Andrew's 4-5, though. He is on the up and up. That's now 2 weeks in a row, Andrew. You've predicted correctly. So you're going for the 3-peat to try and get yourself up to the 500 record. The Yankees 20-11 on the season. The Orioles, well, they're 14-15. They have 2 games to play tomorrow, so that will update by Friday's first game. It should be a fun series. Again, we're hoping for at least 3. If it's anything less, we're a little disappointed. So let's hope for 3 of 4. Let's hope for a sweep, baby. Come on. Let's get above 500 in the division.
Hope for the sweep, expect the 3. That's what I'm going in right now.
That's it. Hope for the sweep, expect the 3. So let's see if the Yankees can go out there and continue to dominate this weekend against the Orioles, the first home series in the division. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Follow us here on our social media pages. Look us up. Trust me, it's worth it. Like the stream. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back next week on, I would assume, Monday night or Tuesday to break down the Orioles series and to preview the upcoming series. Off the top of my head, I don't know who they're playing after the Orioles series. I can do a quick gander.
It's the Rangers, isn't it? Are we playing
Oh,
the
yeah,
Rangers
you're right.
again?
We talked about that before. It's weird. They're wrapping around with the Rangers. Yeah, Tuesday through Thursday, another home series before they go out to Milwaukee for a game that next Friday. So, okay. So we will be talking about potentially Jacob deGrom Eovaldi probably a second time, and it will probably be less than a week. So be ready to talk some more Rangers baseball, folks. But we appreciate you tuning in. Again, subscribe, follow us. We appreciate you tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your Thursday night, everybody, or Wednesday.